It was a day that changed everything, a day that left all of us in shock and disbelief, watching the horrifying attacks unfold live on our TV screens. The sheer scale of it was unimaginable and left our world in a state of fear and devastation. In the midst of that darkness, there were heroes, brave souls who stepped up and embraced the call of duty, even at the cost of their own lives. It's crucial that we acknowledge the unimaginable trauma that not only we face universally, but what the first responder heroes carry with them for the rest of their lives. Their selfless acts came at a personal cost, and it's our duty to remember the victims and support those affected. Today, we have the privilege of introducing you to one of those remarkable individuals who braved the rubble. Joining us today is Thomas Bruno, a former New York firefighter. So thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your story.
Well, thanks for having me here. Well, my pleasure.
So 22 years ago, it doesn't feel like 22 years. That's a long time, yet simultaneously is really not a long time since the Twin Tower attack. So now, firefighters are trained to handle extreme emergencies, but of course this was an unpredictable and a catastrophic event that no one could have ever even anticipated. How could anyone prepare for that, including firefighters?
Well, our training is always there, but it was the emotional aspect and the visual aspect that we just could not fathom. I mean, we were lost for words. I mean, just going up there, 600-700 of us on a ferry just standing there. Nobody talking to each other. I never experienced. I was coming up into my 20th year, and you're always talking, and you might even be throwing some advice, but we were just shocked. I mean, the visual of New York City with the two towers down, I mean, and nothing but black smoke everywhere. It's just something none of us were ever prepared for, that's for sure.
And how did it change your life and impact you?
Well, that day is forever etched in my heart. And, watching Pearl Harbor, I couldn't imagine what those guys went through. But after 9/11, I certainly felt closer to the feeling that those people felt.
And the feelings for the world, universally, we felt that trauma, right?
Yes.
Watching that on television, and I can't even imagine what it must have been like seeing it in person and having to react to it, having to run into the catastrophe, into the rubble. So what were those moments?
Well,
like?
The beginning moments were very, very tough because you had two towers that were completely collapsed, and you had hundreds, maybe thousands of firefighters just surrounding this perimeter. A lot of officers were dead, a lot of captains, a lot of chiefs. We already knew early on that, the death toll among the firemen and the fire officers was huge. So we really didn't know what to do, and firemen are not one to stand around. This was different. This was, we didn't know what to do. It was just a pile. So eventually they broke us off into groups of 5, and believe it or not, we started with what you call the old-fashioned daisy chain. Just taking a piece here, taking a piece there, passing it to the next guy. I went 3.5 days straight. I collapsed, I believe, from exhaustion and dehydration. A couple of guys picked me up, and there was a sergeant there with a little golf cart from the sanitation department, and I didn't want to go anywhere.
This, of course, was a traumatic event for so many different people. How do you manage through that? I know time can't heal everything.
Sometimes you don't manage. Like right now, you got me, thinking about that, and it's difficult, but I understand that people need to hear it, and people want to hear it.
Talking about it, I guess, helps, and
Yes.
also connecting with the community. And you painted a really beautiful picture about one of the beautiful scenes from the aftermath was that you saw all those beautiful flags everywhere,
Yes.
and it was just
Yes.
just the whole pouring, the community was just pouring in, right?
Yeah. That's where we got our strength from. For the entire duration that the fire department has been around, the public has constantly depended on us, and we've always been there for them. I think this was the first time ever that we needed the public. We needed that support. People in those, weeks to follow that I kind of lived at the firehouse and cooked and received people at the front door, flowers, food, cakes, One little old lady walked up and she opened up her purse and she took out $2 single.
Giving all she had,
Right.
Yeah, the whole community, right?
And of course, we tried not to take it, or I tried not to take it. I knew by taking it, I'd be doing more good than by not taking it. So it was moments like that that gave us strength and inspiration. You have to remember that a lot of guys were still missing. A lot of civilians were still missing. So day by day, we were hoping and praying that, somebody would be found. I lost a very close friend in our firehouse, and 22 years later, the family doesn't have closure. I don't have closure. He was in the movie business, as was I. Pretty good stunt man, and never found him.
That is an interesting story that you bring up, because we know the tragedy of itself, but there's also sorts of unspoken and unknown tragedies interwoven with this tragedy, where there's some people who don't know. They have a loved one and they still have no idea where they were, and they, it's very likely that, they just kind of disappeared.
So it's pretty tough.
So what would you hope for future generations to take away from this?
First, I'd like them to learn about it. It's something that they're just not teaching. They're not teaching history anymore. There seems to be more important things to talk about, which I'm not going to get into right now because it's not proper. But, we need to learn about American history. This is the greatest country in the world. Everybody of all colors and all backgrounds. And I say, I want to emphasize the word color, are coming to this country and want to come here for the opportunities that this country affords.
I do still want to know, what can we learn from you, and what can we learn from this experience that you had went through?
I think the biggest takeaway is that we have to stick together as a country and realize that because we are the greatest country in the world, people want to destroy us and get away from the inward attacks on this country that come from Americans that are knocking this country, that don't want this country, that want to turn this country communist or socialist. No, this is the greatest country in the world. Have we made mistakes? Absolutely. Of course we made mistakes, but we're still the greatest country in the world. And that's the takeaway. If we can't realize that people are trying to destroy us because we're so great, then we lost the battle.
So, well, I want to invite you on to our next episode, because you have a pretty vibrant acting career and all sorts of really cool things that you've done with your life, including a ice cream shop you now currently own in Palm Desert.
Yes.
So, you want to come on to our next episode?
I think so. I think I could do that. Can I wear the same outfit?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, of course, sure. Just probably, change it until then.
Yes, okay.
Although the 22nd anniversary has already passed, we believe it is important to always commemorate this deeply significant event in our world's history. You must have been very young when this all took place.
Yes, well, I was almost 10 years old at the time, but I certainly remember that day, and it's forever etched in my memory. So we always had the news going on in the morning. So the first thing that I saw when I woke up was all the replays and everything unfolding on live TV, and it certainly struck a lot of fear and sadness. So when I went to school that day, all the classes were canceled. They put all the kids into the gymnasium. They pushed out these trays with those large box TVs to continue watching how this was going on. The teachers and the principal did a really great job at taking time to explain to, us young kids what was, the gravity of the situation and how fearful it was. And even though there were so many kids packed in this gymnasium, it was silent. Everyone was captivated about what was going on in New York City. Now, of course, I think you probably remember all the flights were canceled. There was no flights, so a lot of Americans were stranded. And Canada is not just a neighbor. We're friends with the United States.
Of course.
Yeah, and so there was a lot of Canadians that were inviting Americans in their homes and making makeshift shelters. And, we were all very fearful. All of us felt fear, even in Canada, about what was going to happen next. And over the weeks that followed, hearing the really devastating stories, not just from New York, but even families who were stuck in Calgary share their experience about not being able to contact family members, and it was just a really deeply sad time.
Yeah, a lot of times we focus on the fact that the Twin Towers went down, but also there was a plane that crashed into the Pentagon as well.
That's right.
And then I couldn't imagine being on the plane that crashed in Pennsylvania, I believe it was, right?
Yeah.
Where the people on the plane just literally ended up overwhelming the terrorists and taking the plane down. And they say that possibly that plane may have been heading to Washington, D.C.
Right.
Maybe
the
the White House
right?
the Pentagon one did crash into the Pentagon.
Oh.
But this is a third plane that ended up crashing in a field. And I believe it was Pennsylvania, if I remember correctly, where like I said, the folks are on the plane, 2 or 3 men at least, just rushed the cockpit.
Yeah, went right into action.
And they took the plane down. As they figured out where it was heading.
It was a very
heroic.
noble sacrifice, but I can't imagine. I did hear a voice recording that terrified me to listen to. It was someone who was on the plane telling their loved one, hey, I wish you picked up, but this might be the last time I can talk to you. And it just...
so sad. That's why.
What about you?
Well, you know what? That morning we were awake and we're getting ready. Our 2 youngest boys for school, and our oldest son was knocking on the door. He had just come home from Navy SEAL training, if I remember correctly, and we were happy to see him. And all of a sudden, I believe he had a pager, if I remember correctly, in those days, and he got summoned to go back to the military base, the Navy base that he was at in San Diego immediately. So we saw him for like 5 minutes, and he had to get in his car and take off and go back. So yeah, everybody was on like red alert, Who knew? Because they didn't know what else was coming. Who knew?
Yeah.
We were actually in fear of other things happening in our neck of the woods here as well. So
all over the world, everyone was tense because we didn't know. No one really was prepared to see what was going to happen. I don't think anyone was really expecting something so horrific and to be pulled off like that.
Very, very sad day in our history. Yep. All right. Let's get on to some exciting topics. Coming up is talented actor Stephen Ciceron. He has played on my dramas and comedies, and some of my fans might recognize him from Mark's Place. Steve Ciceron shares his experiences and insights about his acting world.
Can I have a repeat of what happened last time? Listen, change your plans. I'll cover the lobby. You get the scumbag to stole our money. You go get the scumbag that stole our money and be quick about it.
Join with me today is Stephen Ciceron. Thank you so much for being here and welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So you've done a lot of acting and you've got a lot of experience. So what do you enjoy most about acting, and really what helps you perfect the characters that you portray?
I think what I really like about acting is bringing truth and richness and fullness to a character. And if I succeed in that, I feel really good about it. And I think what's helped me do that is my background. I actually was a former psychologist. I went for a psychology degree, and I did that for a little while. And I now feel that I can understand the human psyche of any character that I'm going to develop. So I think that's critical, to really feel like you're that character, and that way I can bring richness to them and truth, and do it organically. And one of the other things that I do is, my training in acting is method acting. And some people are very afraid of that. They think it's going to be like some of the Hollywood actors that live and breathe that even when they leave the set. I don't do it when I leave the set, so I become myself again. So I don't need to be afraid of me.
Yeah, compartmentalize,
Right.
so to
Right.
speak. So touching base on your psychology background, is that, and what else had inspired you to be an actor?
I think the thing that inspired me to be an actor goes back a long time ago to pre-kindergarten, when my mother used to like to watch all these old-time movies. So she wanted me to sit with her and watch a movie, Gene Kelly and Debbie Reynolds, Singing in the Rain. So after that movie, I was going around with an umbrella like they did and pretending to tap dance. And then later on, it was strange enough, in kindergarten, I was picked to do a song on a stage, and it was B.J. Thomas, Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, and I got to do the umbrella again. Still didn't know how to tap dance at that point, but I think that's what got me going.
So what kind of characters are you drawn to play? Is there a type, a style, villains, the hero? What's
That's
your...
a good question.
What attracts you?
Well, I think when I first started acting, it was sort of like the goody two-shoes type of acting. I was like the male equivalent of Donna Reed and Doris Day, if you know who they are. And so I was doing a lot of lawyer roles and doctor roles and brother roles and father roles and neighbor roles. And that was all well and good, and I enjoyed that, and I brought truth to those characters. But then later on, I started realizing that I needed more of a challenge, and I decided that I liked playing evil roles, really scary evil roles. And it's very difficult for me to do that, because generally I'm a nice guy. I like doing comedy, I like having fun. So evil is difficult to portray, but if I do it convincingly, I feel challenged.
That's pretty cool. So you have obviously a wide range of characters that you can portray. So then what about on different platforms, different media platforms? So let's just say film, theater, TV, commercials, they're all different. What do you prefer, and what's your experience with that?
Okay, well, I do it all, mainly because I have to pay the mortgage, and that's critical. I started in theater, and then later on I started doing film. I think I'm going to bring it down to theater and to film. Theater is fun, and it's exhilarating, and you get immediate reinforcement, which is nice. But also it's very challenging in the sense that, it's live theater. So if you mess up or the other actor messes up, you got to try to bring that back. But it is nice, and you have to project to the audience. Film is nice because that's where I really think that I get to do my organic acting and make love basically to the camera and really bring truth and richness to that character. So I'm going to probably say film, even though I started in theater.
Can you share some of your experiences on a set? Like, what are some of the most memorable moments you've experienced that stand out to you?
So I remember once I was doing theater, and I had my lines down pat, and all of a sudden a fly, a simple little fly went by. It distracted me. I guess I wasn't in the moment enough, and I completely forgot everything, and I was just staring there. Luckily, I was with a seasoned actor who sort of was able to bring it back and realize that I was in trouble. So that's very memorable, because, like I said, theater is live, and not much you can do. With film, they could have said, "Cut, what's wrong with you?"
Right.
Did you forget your lines? So, yeah.
And what kind of strategies, based on even that experience from seasoned actors, that you can really just keep things going, whether it's theater or even trying to make sure that, everything runs smoothly on a film set?
Right. Well, I mean, you try to make sure that you don't show fear in your face. Right? That's important. And then you basically do some improv and try to get it back as close as possible to where that was, so that you can give the other actor a chance. But film will probably cut. The director will probably know that something's gone awry here. Theater, like you say, you got to do the best that you can.
Looking at two more extreme genres between comedy and drama, what are the two? Like, do you prefer one over the other, or what's that like for you?
I had a feeling you were going to ask that question. I think that's sort of like choosing between your two sons. I have two sons. So I like comedy because it's a challenge, and I mentioned that I like challenge. It's a lot of fun, and you have to be able to make that punchline, you have to deliver it properly, and you have to know how to improv, not to take away from that punchline. And it's just a lot of fun being on the set. Most of the actors want to laugh and have a good time with it. So I like that, but then I mentioned the challenge of the evil roles, and since I think I'm a nice guy, it's very difficult to do, and that's challenging. But I'm sorry, I don't think I can choose. I can't choose between my two sons, and I can't choose between comedy and drama.
Well, if you're up for a challenge, we'll give you a chance to randomly select a scene and have you do it. Are you up for the challenge?
Oh gosh, do I say yes? Okay, yeah, bring it on. I can do it.
All right, well, let's roll with it. Oh, The Sixth Sense!
Oh my.
Oh my goodness, I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
Me too.
Yeah, Bruce
It's
Willis.
been a long time.
Iconic.
I want to tell you my secret now. I see dead people.
In your dreams? While you're awake? Dead people like in graves, in coffins?
Walking around like regular people. They don't see each other. They only see what they want to see. They don't know they're dead.
How often do you see them?
All the time.
Oh my goodness, this is very exciting. So, what do you say? You got 15 minutes to get ready. That's all you have, and you got to act the whole scene out. What do you think? And are you excited about the challenge?
Yeah,
what
those are hard shoes to fill, but I can't believe you talked
Bruce
me into
Willis,
this.
right?
All
Yeah,
right.
Bruce Willis is a
Let's
pretty
do this.
challenging
We'll
character.
roll up the sleeves. Maybe I'll take off the jacket. Okay.
Yeah, and he plays in a lot more dramas than comedy.
That's true. That's true. Okay.
All right, well, we'll see how you do. So, see you in about 15 minutes.
I can't wait to see Steven's reenactment of Bruce Willis's from The Sixth Sense. That's coming up later. For now, let's get into some Hollywood news.
Welcome to another segment of The Other Side of Hollywood. Marilyn Monroe's historic Brentwood home has been rescued from demolition thanks to the intervention of the Los Angeles City Council. The iconic actress who acquired the property back in 1962 tragically passed away that same year, leaving behind the gorgeous Spanish-style 4-bedroom house. In 2017, the property changed hands when it was acquired for $7.25 million. However, in July of 2023, a trust bearing the same name as the 2017 buyer swooped in to purchase the house for $8.35 million. Disturbingly, this trust applied for the demolition permit from the Department of Building and Safety, signaling an immediate threat to the historic landmark. Responding to this alarming development, the Los Angeles City Council swiftly took action, stepping in to halt the demolition early September and quickly voted to suspend the permit and safeguard Monroe's home, a gem that was originally constructed in 1929. The council is now actively pursuing the house designation as a historic site. This rescue mission comes in the heels of the renewed interest in Marilyn Monroe's life and legacy, largely sparked by the 2022 film Blonde. Council member Tracy Park echoed the sentiment that Monroe's home is a vital piece of Hollywood and Los Angeles history, culture, and legacy that must be preserved for future generations. So it looks like her home is safe for now. Up next, it has been over a decade since the iconic Spice Girls took the stage together at the 2012 London Olympic closing ceremony. They did reunite for a successful Spice World Tour in 2019, but Posh Spice Victoria Beckham was notably absent from the lineup. Now the news fans have been eagerly waiting to hear it might be on the horizon. A reunion with all the original members, including Victoria Beckham, who was previously stepped away from the Spice Girl projects to focus on her fashion and beauty ventures. Since their initial launch was in 1996, they sold over 100 million albums worldwide and became one of the best-selling girl groups of all time. Mel B revealed that they have been discussing their reunion project via a serious WhatsApp conversation. Over the years, the Spice Girls have showcased their enduring bond. After all, friendship never ends. Most recently, 4 out of 5 of the members celebrated Jerry Horner's 50th birthday together, and Beckham has even been spotted enjoying some Spice Girls karaoke. What's that even look like when you're singing your own song? Does that count as cheating? Whatever the Spice Girls have in store, fans are eager to be part of it because we still want to be there. And that's it for The Other Side of Hollywood.
So, Will, how do you think that Steve Ciceron is doing?
Well, I mean, time is up, so it's showtime. Let's see how he did.
Okay.
I want to tell you my secret now.
Okay.
I see dead people.
In your dreams? While you awake? Dead people, like in graves and coffins?
Walking around like regular people. They don't see each other. They only see what they want to see. They don't know they're dead.
How often do you see them?
All the time. They're everywhere.
Okay, that's it, young man. You're grounded.
Man, wow, what a twist.
Well, so Tony, what do you think maybe you and I take on an acting challenge like that? Get an iconic scene and see who does the best.
Oh, acting is right up my alley, so good luck.
Okay.
Tune in to our next episode to reveal who can pull off the better acting scene.
For now, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to Fiesta Ford and Quick Lane for helping us bring community content to the Limelight. If you have any topic suggestions, feel free to email us or reach out to us at californialimelights@gmail.com. Until next time, I'm Will Wilson.
And I'm Tony Pomponio. See you next time, folks.